The third, satsang. Satsang brings the satisfaction of having no enemies. You are at home in the world. You have no enemies. Our home is the world. It's not Wilmington, North Carolina. It's not North Carolina. It's not the United States. It's the world. Our home is the world. And when we have that perception and perspective that our home is the world, we come and we act and we think from that idea, then we are living peace. I'm being mesmerized by this quilt. Are you?
Yes.
You notice who's right in the center there?
Yes.
Ryan White. Ryan White. Didn't make it to his 20th birthday. Yeah. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. Well, you know, every year in December, we have this season called Advent, and I love talking about Advent because it's a prepare ye the way of the Lord kind of month. And I love that. I love that kind of concept of preparing according to the four ideas of peace, hope, love, and joy. Peace, hope, love, and joy. And there's always a lot to say about those. At least I have a lot to say about them. And so I'm always curious to go back and read the Christmas story and see what pops out, to see the things that happen. And this year was no different. I noticed that when I read the Christmas story, and I've been using in a lot of my talks the Message Bible. It's been calling my name for some time now, so that's what you're going to hear from. But I was amazed at how many times there were dreams and angels in there. Dreams and angels. I'm like, what in the world? Dreams and angels. Does anybody really talk about that at Christmas time? Well, I'm going to talk about it. Let me tell you how often it talks about it in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. So here's the way it starts in the Gospel of Matthew. Joseph was betrothed to Mary, right? And he found out she was pregnant. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. He was going to, just silently dismiss her and have her go away. But while he was trying to figure out what he was going to do, he had a dream. And in the dream, God's angel spoke to him and said, "Hey, Joseph, son of David, don't hesitate to get married. Don't worry about it. It's going to work out." And so when he woke up, he did exactly what the angel had commanded. Oh, okay, dreams and angels. Dreams and angels, number one. Number two, well, you know what happened is after Jesus was born, Herod, the king, got a little worried about it because he was being touted as the newborn savior of the world, right? And the king was like, "Oh no, don't like that one bit." And so word got out, and he was afraid about that. And so he met with his high priests and got together and said, "Hey, go find this newborn babe and let me know what's happening. Let me know where he is so that I can go and pay him homage as well." Well, that was not his intention at all. His intention was then to get rid of the baby and get rid of his competition. So the wise men, of course, the sages, went and found the baby. But then in a dream, they were warned not to report back to Herod. And so they worked out another route, and they left the territory without having to talk to Herod. So here's another dream. After they were gone, Joseph had another dream. Joseph's dream was get up and take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and stay there. Because Herod is on the hunt for this child. Even though the wise men didn't go back, Herod was still on the lookout. But Joseph was told in a dream, "Hey, get up, go to Egypt, get out of here." And so he obeyed. He went to Egypt. And when Herod found out, he was really mad. He was really mad about that. So he ordered that all children under the age of 2 be killed. Be killed. That's how upset he was. But eventually Herod died, of course. And God's angel appeared in a dream to Joseph again. Here's another dream and another angel. And he said, "Okay, get up and take the child and return to Israel, because the time has passed. Herod is no longer alive, so you don't need to worry about that anymore." So he did. He got up and he went back to Israel. But he did get afraid a little bit because he heard that the next king was actually was the king's brother, was the king's son. And he was like, I don't know, I'm a little worried about that. But Joseph was directed in another dream to go to the hills of Galilee. And that's exactly what he did. So 5 times already we're hearing about dreams and angels, dreams and angels. And that's just in the Gospel of Matthew. Well, I didn't want the Gospel of Luke here. Let's get to the Gospel of Luke and just review a couple more examples. The first one being that when Mary was told about the virgin birth, how was she told? You all know that already, right? She was told by the angel Gabriel. Came to her in a dream and said, hey, Mary, this is what's going to happen. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid about it. Everything's going to be all right. He greeted her that way. And the other thing that happens in the Gospel of Luke is the shepherds. See, all the Christmas story isn't in one gospel, by the way. We kind of mash it all up and think it's all this nice story going from one thing to the next, but it's actually not that way at all. Most of it, and a lot of it, is in Matthew. And then there's a little bit in Luke. The shepherds were there at night, right, taking care of their flocks. And what happened is an angel came out of the sky and said, hey, you got to go see what's happening over here. Follow this star and find out this baby isn't born. The king has arrived. And so these shepherds took leave of most of their flock because of the direction of an angel. Wow! What's all that mean? Like, what were the gospel writers really trying to tell us here? All these dreams and angels, dreams and angels. Well, what was happening at the time, the writers of the Gospels were actually trying to let the new Christians, which there were no really Christians at the time, right? This was a new movement. It was a new movement grounded in love and kindness that was changing the world, by the way. And so they were using the Old Testament, the Old Hebrew writings, and they were trying to show that they were connected to prove to the new followers that this was the Messiah, Also, when you think about what was happening back then, there were only about 5,700, 5,400 Christians at the time. There weren't a whole slew of them. And so they were really writing to help create a movement. But what about beyond that? What were they really trying to say here? Well, there's the literal story of Christmas. There's the literal story, and then there is the metaphysical story. There's the metaphysical story. And I'd like to talk really a little bit about what's beyond the physical nature of it, what's beyond the physical idea of it. Well, there's been volumes and volumes and tomes written about dreams and what dreams mean and what dreams are. But I want to say for this talk, I would like you to consider dreams as a place where we are closer to God than we are when we're alive, when we're awake. When we're awake, we're trying to figure things out all the time. We're doing this and we're weighing things and we're trying to make things happen. But when we're in the dream state, I would say that's when the veil is dropped or veil is lifted. That's when we are closer. We are outside of our ego, and we are in that place that we're closest to our spiritual nature. Don't you think that about dreams? Think about even daydreams. When we're in a daydream and we're off somewhere, we always say, I don't know where I was. I wasn't here. I was off somewhere else, right? We're in that daydream kind of place. We're not being affected by trying to figure things out in our ego. So I think dreams in this kind of context are about being closer to God, to have that veil drop and being closer to the divine. And that's when the angels show up. Angels, in metaphysically, mean ideas. And not just any old idea, but divine ideas. Those ideas that are those aha kind of things that you come across. You've had this experience before. I'm not telling you anything new. Am I? That aha thing, like an idea came out of nowhere. Have you ever said that? I don't know where that came from. But it showed up in my consciousness because I was open to it. That idea of angels being divine ideas. So we might notice that the words from the angels that I read out of here, or that I refer to, the angel said to Mary, don't be afraid, trust me. Must have said that to Joseph. Joseph was like on it every time. Every time he had a dream, he was like, he trusted that guidance. The wise men trusted that guidance and said, yeah, right? They trusted that guidance. Do not be afraid. Trust that. Pay attention to it. Because everything on the outside did not support that. Everything on the outside in the physical world did not support those ideas. Why would Joseph decide that it was okay that his wife was pregnant, not by him? Like, that didn't make sense in the outer world. That didn't make sense. Why should the three wise men just ignore this powerful king? That didn't make sense in the outer world at all. Why should the shepherds leave their flocks? They take the whole flock into town. Why should the shepherd leave their flock? Why should that happen? It didn't make sense in the outer world. But the clarity comes when that veil drops and the divine ideas come. Those are the ideas you can trust. So it got me to wondering, well, do we have to be in the dream state all the time to get this divine guidance? Do we have to be daydreaming? Is that where we have to have it? Is that the only way to come into this clarity and awareness from the divine, for direction, for guidance? And I said no. No, I don't believe that. I don't think we have to be in there. We can be, but I don't think it's a prerequisite. We don't have to wait to go to bed every night to dream. We don't have to decide to daydream each day in order to come into that. But I think we can activate that by living, and by living from a sense of peace in us. By living from a sense of peace in our mind and in our heart and in every cell of our body. Can you imagine that right now? Just what it feels like to just be totally at peace. To be totally not attached to emotion. Just to be exquisitely peaceful. I think that's the point at which the veil lifts. That's the point at which we open ourselves up to that aha moment, to that angel of God descending into our consciousness. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, there is no way to peace, peace is the way. Peace is the way. Peace has its own power. It's not this kind of, benign kind of thing where we're just all zen and that's not what peace is. Peace is powerful. Peace has its own, the power of peace is in peace itself. It's in peace itself. Because, it is not contained within our own body either. When our soul and our mind and our heart and our body is vibrating peace, it is not contained within this body. It's that vibration that changes the world. That changes the world, yes. Yes. It's not passive. It is powerful. There's a book by Deepak Chopra called Peace is the Way. And I want to share a little bit about what he says, how you will know if you are living peace. If you are living from that place of peace, if you are living in that vibration of peace. Now you're there, you're not, when you're not there. I've noticed recently when I'm not there, I've been struggling with my recovery on some days. I was with my family over Thanksgiving, and it was a terrible day pain-wise. Ask Renee. I was like, I was struggling. I was crying. I was just feeling like I would never get better, and this was happening. I went up to the room we were staying in, and I was like, I was not peaceful. I was not giving that opening, right? You've been there. So we know when we're not peaceful. We know when we're not holding peace in the energy of our mind and our heart and our body. We know that. I know that. I'm sure you do too. But here you will know that you are living the way of peace when these three things are present. Number one is called Siva. Your thoughts and actions harm no one and benefit everyone. Your thoughts and actions harm no one and benefit everyone. 2, Simran. You remember your true nature and your purpose for being here. And number 3, Satsang. You belong in the community of peace and wisdom. So let me give you just a little bit more about what this means. Seva brings the joy of knowing that your daily actions support life as a whole. Support life as a whole. Your actions harm no one and benefit everyone. If we just lived that way, what an amazing perspective we would have. If every time we made a choice that we said, will this harm no one and benefit everyone? Simran brings satisfaction of expanded possibilities. A unique path to mastery is open for you and you alone. In other words, this is living your Dharma. Remember when I did this series on Dharma? This is living how you are here to live. This is living who you are here to be in your unique and essential nature. If you are living that, you are living peace. Think about how you struggle when you're not living that. When you really know that this is the path you want. And I've done that in my life more than a few times. When I thought, well, who's ever going to show up and listen to me as being a minister? I don't have this credential. I don't have that credential. Who would ever, that kind of thing? But then it kept knocking on the door. The angel kept showing up. When I was able to get in that state of awareness, oh, knock, 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 knock. Why aren't you doing this? Oh, that sort of thing. When we are living our Dharma, when we are living what we are here to live, is how we will know we are living peace. However that is for you. However that is for you. The third, satsang. Satsang brings the satisfaction of having no enemies. You are at home in the world. You have no enemies. Our home is the world. It's not Wilmington, North Carolina. It's not North Carolina. It's not the United States. It's the world. Our home is the world. And when we have that perception and perspective that our home is the world, we come and we act and we think from that idea, then we are living peace. Yes, it's good mirror stuff, right? It's good ways for us to look in the mirror. Living peace invites us to pay attention to dreams and angels, to look in the mirror and to ask ourselves if we are really living this way. Not just, I'm a peaceful person. Yeah, I don't like war. This is really the essence of living. Siva, satsang, samra. Right? Did I get that right? So, today we light the candle, the Advent candle. We light the candle of peace. We don't light a candle for peace. We light a candle as a commitment that we have to be peace. It's not for peace. If peace is not separate from ourselves in this way of thinking. This is lighting a candle for peace. To bring peace to my mind. To bring peace to my heart. To bring peace to my breath. To bring peace to my body in every cell. To create a space for the divine to reveal itself as peace in me. Just as it did with Mary and Joseph and the wise men and the shepherds, to be revealed from the inside. To have the veil drop and to know that the guidance I receive when I am in peace, I can trust. I can trust it is from the divine. And so the affirmation that I'll ask you to use today is this. Peace is the way. I am peace, and I am not afraid. Peace is the way. I am peace, and I am not afraid. Let's say that together. Peace is the way. I am peace, and I am not afraid. So there's a little reminder for you up here on the altar as you come forward during meditation today. I invite you to light a candle for peace in yourself, for peace to reign in your mind and heart and soul. And I invite you to then plant the candle, a little logistics, to the back of the sand, the back side of the sand. The back side is this side right here. So if you come up first and you put your candle right here, there will be some burnt sleeves. And we're not supposed to have fire anywhere near the quilt, so I think we'll just put it toward the back and everything will work out just fine. Okay? So let's take a deep breath as we go into meditation this afternoon. And feel what it feels like to be peace in mind, to be peace in body, to be peace in soul, to breathe and know that from this place of peace in me comes the clarity from the divine itself, from God. The clarity and the answer that I can trust, regardless of what it looks like in the world. That I trust it because the veil has dropped,